This is an article from Boxing News 24. They say Canelo's not the first undisputed Latino champion. And not just that, they said Canelo's not really undisputed. I haven't heard anybody call Canelo the first undisputed Latino champion. What I heard him say is he's the first undisputed Mexican champion, which is true. Basically, this guy's talking about Kid Gavilan, Roberto Duran, Carlos Monzon. This guy's going back to the 50s to discredit Canelo's being undisputed. I mean, back then, they only had 8 divisions. And this article mentions a lot of Latino fighters, and there were a lot of great ones that you would consider undisputed at that time. None of them were Mexican. In the 1950s, there were 8 divisions in boxing. Today, we have 17. But that's not all. He says Canelo is not even a real undisputed champion. He goes on to say Usyk beat all 4 champions in his weight class to become undisputed. He said the same thing about Bud Crawford, even though he doesn't like Bud Crawford either. But he says Bud Crawford went to 140, fought all 4 champions, and became undisputed. He said in Canelo's case, he went to 168, he fought Colin Smith for the WBA, Jose Sulaiman throw the WBC belt in there. The winner of that fight becomes a unified champion. And so the next fight, he fights Billy Joe Saunders, stops him, he wins a WBO belt. And after that, he fights Caleb Plant. He knocks out Caleb Plant for all the marbles. Now, what this guy is saying is Canelo didn't fight 4 champions. He fought only 3. And he's saying the same thing that Teddy Atlas says. Canelo is not undisputed at 168 until he fights David Benavidez, who was the WBC super middleweight champion until he lost it on the scale. So not only are we going back to the 1950s to discredit Canelo as an undisputed Latino champion, now we're going to blame him because David Benavidez' fat ass couldn't make weight. And you hear this from detractors all the time. They'll say something like, well, if Benavidez would have been still champion, or you will hear the only reason he went to 168 is because David Benavidez got stripped. Well, I have a solution to that. Don't get stripped. And why did he fight Abner Yildirim? Well, David Benavidez was supposed to be fighting Abner Yildirim if he would have made weight, because he was Benavidez's mandatory. What are your thoughts? Do you have Canelo as undisputed champion at 168? Or do you follow what this guy is saying? He has to beat 4 champions. I'm going with undisputed. I think Canelo's undisputed. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Jay Beezy, I'm gone.